to the home front here on Substack. My name is Reed Galen. I am joined we're just going to do a short one here, guys, maybe 30, 40 minutes today, with Tyler Emerson of On the Brink. Tyler, welcome.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
And Evelyn Quartz of Quartz Evelyn. Evelyn, welcome back.
Hello. Thanks, guys. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here too. So, all right. So it's been a busy week news-wise, but there's plenty of people, as Tyler noted right before we went on, that are talking about the headlines and everything else. So we want to talk a little bit about what's going on this week. And there has been, guys, a number of reports that have dropped into the ether. The Roosevelt Institute put one out about what happened during the Biden administration and why certain things were allowed to happen and why a lot of things, frankly, didn't happen. There was another one put out with some folks who did like a 300-page report on all of the backup of 2024 and what happened. And I haven't really had a chance to go through that one. And then there was another one that I think got a lot of attention because obviously they have pretty good media contacts. Semaphore wrote up a piece about it called Deciding to Win. And in full disclosure, like I know the people that put this up. And for me, Tyler, we were having a discussion not on live. I think the three of us and maybe Corbin as well. And you said, Reed, what is your immediate non-emotional reaction to it? And guys, this was a 60-page report, 5,000 interviews, God knows how much money it cost him to do it. And I said, completely objectively, not surprised at all. There was nothing new in this report about where the Democratic Party should go, about what it should do, other than, leave the culture issues aside, stop listening to the donor class, stop listening to the cultural elite. I think the problem for me, and Evelyn, I'll start with you, is that it's very hard to take that stuff seriously when all of the donors are all the people who give the most money to the groups that put these things together are exactly those types of people. So it's sort of a wink and a nod. Like, we know what we have to say, right? We don't really believe it. And not only that, I feel like it's nibbling around the edges. It's sort of like, if we just talk more about healthcare, if we just talk more about this issue, if we just talk more about that issue, we don't want to talk about culture issues, but we got to talk about abortion, right? And it was and the other piece for me, and I'll stop my soliloquy here, Evelyn, is also, again, it goes back to this whole idea that somehow the method to winning will be found, like listening to the HAL 9000 get us to Jupiter, right? Like if you somehow you don't have to decide, I want to go to Jupiter first, right? Like, what's the goal? Why are you even doing these things? So, I know you had some pretty strong feelings about it too. So give us your sense of it.
Yeah, for me, this is just a political class that does not have power right now. They lost they're defeated right at the ballot box in 2024. I think it's if they can get back into power in the next couple of years, that's kind of like their only final call for relevance, right? Like they're doing the same thing that they've been doing for 15 years. It's this consultant class that doesn't really believe in anything and has to put out these really cynical reports that are just generated. I mean, you could generate them on ChatGPT, right? It's just totally stale talking point language. And I think the whole thing is just a grift so they can keep the money flowing and they can pretend like they have something new to say, but they don't, right? They're not, they have no answer for this moment. They haven't done any introspection. They don't want to. They just want to put out the bare minimum that'll continue to get them funded. And these are the same people that rally around Kamala Harris. And it's why, to a large extent, you've seen them not give her any flack for losing, right? She's elevated on this big fancy book tour. She's being propped up with interviewers who are not going to ask her anything critical. And so it's just this sham. And it deserves all of the scrutiny.
Well, Tyler, speaking of Vice President Harris, one of the things in the report was that the Harris campaign and Vice President Harris had been too far left culturally. Obviously, if you paid any attention to last year or so much of the commentary of most of this year, it's, he's for us, she's for they, them. This same group that put this out said, Kamala Harris was the moderate in the race a year ago this time, right? And so to me, maybe the most concerning, frustrating, upsetting part is it just feels very cynical.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, reading it was a lot of talking out of both sides of one's mouth. It, I found in a footnote a part that I wanted to read,
Mm-hmm.
and this was from going through your notes, Reed. So footnote number 26, and deciding to win, quote, see part 5 for policy polling results. On average, center-left, more incrementalist economic policies tend to be more popular than more progressive economic policies. This means that focusing on the most popular parts of our economic agenda will more often, but not always, mean campaigning on more modest economic reforms than more radical changes. And to me, that says everything about that report.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same story that, I mean, I sent you guys in a text yesterday, right? It's the same story that we've had, the same orientation, the same operating system we've had for a half century in the country. We need to focus on more modest economic reforms rather than quote unquote more radical changes. And it has all of this, they have all of this polling that they've done, right, in this entire framework, this entire paradigm to back up that fundamental premise. And I think it's bullshit. I mean, we could spend an hour talking about why it's bullshit. It's certainly like to have that as one's take here in 2025 blows my mind. Where we, how, where we are and how we got here.
Well, but Evelyn, you and I have spoken a lot about this. Is that unfortunately, as I said when Tyler first asked me that question, what was my opinion? Was I wasn't surprised because this is either. I mean, I saw this expression in a book, right? Old wine in a new bottle, and I feel like that's what this is. It's like, okay, well, we didn't win last time, but we came close, right? So if we could just do this and that, and then hope that the Trump administration completely, gets us into a war, destroys the economy, starves 50 million Americans, then they'll let us back in because what else are they going to do? But to Tyler's point in that footnote, this is exactly why John Della Volpe, a friend of mine who's done a 25 years worth of survey work and research into young voters at Harvard, said that when he asked a group of young voters, I think earlier this week or last week, what these voters thought of the Democratic Party, it's like the HR person coming to visit you, right? Like not just the person you don't want to see, you don't want to hear from, right? The Toby Flenderson, for you Office fans, of political parties,
Yeah.
right? Like, just
but not even like funny, like just
right.
stupid. Yeah. I think it's so interesting. There was their whole like search for authenticity. The Democrats, like, do we think that any new person who isn't already like so far into the liberal resistance movement and is probably like over 50 is interested in any of this stuff? Like, that's where maybe like there's actually some hope here, because the Democrats don't have any answers for that. And the really sad part, and I posted about this other day, that's actually like scary and upsetting, is that the right does. The right has like, they have the culture right now, like the zeitgeist is with them. They have a lot of ways to talk to young people. And the Democrats, I think this is just kind of a dying brand of like this elite class that is totally in bed with the corporations that have like wrecked the economy for young people. Young people see no like real future in America.
Right.
And like these reports are just so cynical. And I think like we can look at the list of the people who are a part of this. And there's like, it does vary a little bit in age. Like the Pod Save America guys are in it. I think they're like in their 40s. But to me, they're kind of just like useful idiots for this project. And
So,
that's where I think like independent
yeah.
What did you say?
No,
Well,
just
for reference.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify. This is my Midwestern bleeding heart to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. It was a little deceiving in how that they presented it, I thought. They listed the individuals whom gave them feedback on the document. They led with all of these names. These are not people who have endorsed the document. they gave feedback on the document.
Yeah,
That at least is my understanding, right?
I
That
had
it
heard
was
that.
deceptive.
I had
Yeah.
heard that too. In
Oh,
fact,
okay.
someone I was talking to,
Sure.
yeah, a friend of mine, I said, and what about it? And said, oh yeah, no, they reviewed it. No one ever said, oh yeah, I'm going to put your name on it,
Right.
right?
But
And
are
it
they
was
on their show talking about how they don't like it? Like, I can't imagine they would buck these
no,
people.
but I mean, look, if it would be one thing, to Tyler's point, if you were going to have a list of acknowledgments that you put on page 61, right?
Yeah.
And made very clear, these are the people to whom we sent this ahead of time, asking for their ideas or comments, right? This very much, to Tyler's point, made it like these people have seen it and endorsed what is
Right.
to follow. And I think that goes along to your point, Evelyn, which is like, why just be honest, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know who we were talking about, it's like, why is it, Corbin said something, Corbin Trent, a friend of ours, and follow him too, if you haven't, said something the other day. It's like, where are we as a country and a world where Donald Trump is Donald Trump and people like Democrats less? Like,
Yeah.
where are we in that world? Like, how does that happen? Right.
Mhm.
And it doesn't happen overnight. And it goes back to, and there was one other interesting thing. I'm sorry to jump around, is that so much of what they talk about is in the context of 2012 to 2024. They intentionally leave out President Obama's 08 campaign, which was not moderate, which was very exciting, which was very activist in nature. Now, he did not end up being that president, but
Right.
that he won Indiana
Mhm.
that year, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
and then a lot of those people in 16 went to Trump again. I don't know where Trump is on an ideological spectrum. It's like, it's more of like a scatter graph, right? But those people, what were they looking for? Change, right? Hope and change. Make America great again. The same, major key, minor key thinking. We are in a change environment, a consistent change environment. And this was like, here's more of the same oatmeal that's just about the right temperature. But the problem is, Tyler, at the end of the day, it's still oatmeal.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Evelyn, you had said that you think there are folks on the right who can inspire more than examples that we have on the left. I mean, I could see some credence to that.
Definitely.
It's part of this larger reality where you guys know I wrote that piece, An American Popular Front, and there are other. Corbin wrote a similar piece. Tom Hartman last week wrote a similar piece about this empire that has been built, started going back to the days of William F. Buckley Jr. through today. Now they got lucky, I would say, because in 2016, 2015, 2016, they had on the stage Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush and some others who didn't have a shot in hell, and then somebody came along and blew up that party as it needed to be blown up, and nobody has yet done that with the Democratic Party in the way that it needs to be done. And
Yes.
they got lucky, even though they had the empire, but the empire wasn't enough. It took someone like him to really create some change for better or worse, often clearly worse. So we're seemingly so far behind the eight ball in so many ways, but more to the point, you still have that opportunity. What do you call it? Taking over the party, whatever. Like that, we are in a Tea Party moment for the left right now, or whatever the hell this is. But we're here. It just seems like we don't have a person yet for it, or a coalition yet for it. I mean, we have. I'm a big fan of Graham Plattner. I'm a big fan of Shortcut Chakrabarty, Kat Abagazala. There are a number of these folks who are out there running. We know a number of them, and I don't know. What do you guys think about like? We're so many folks are aware of where we are at, and yet there's not meaningful steps being taken on the timeline that we have of acting on it. I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm working with Corbin to try to do something. This
Right.
Pledge for America project we're working on. But yeah, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts about like this time that we're in? Yeah.
Sure. So I wrote something about the Maine Democratic Senate primary
Yeah.
in the context of what you're talking about. In fact, I brought up, Tyler, the
Mm.
idea of Trump in 2015 in the context of Plattner, which is gets in early, generates a great deal of grassroots support. The establishment candidate gets in. The Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee immediately files a joint fundraising committee with Governor Janet Mills. And the reaction to that, and followed by the opposition research drops of the tattoo, the Reddit posts, all of those other things, which none of which, again, primaries are primaries for a reason. And, as my dad used to say, if you don't like politics, you can do something else. Welcome to the NFL. That's what he always liked to tell me. But the thing that I think we're seeing with a Plattner type, like we saw with Trump, is he has energized a very significant portion of the base. And the more the establishment attacks him, the more they retrench into him, simply because you're not them, because you're not Janet Mills, because you're not a stalking horse for Chuck Schumer, right? Because look, even if Plattner didn't have a tattoo, even if Plattner did not have, crazy Reddit posts from his past, and he claims penance for all of those things, and I will take him at his word. As soon as he came out looking the way he looks, talking the way he talks, and I mean like his actual style, saying he wouldn't vote for Chuck Schumer as leader, and then being an economic progressive or populist, like he was going to be in Washington's, crosshairs. They want nothing to do with that. Just as an aside, Tyler and Evelyn, I want to get your opinion on this. As far as this divide is, our friend Kat Obaguzale actually was indicted in federal court today for her ongoing protest efforts in front of an ICE facility in Chicago. She's running for Congress in Illinois' 9th. This is a young woman who has been thrown across a street by ICE agents and hit in the face with a baton. So, and is at the ripe old age of 27, is demonstrating a hell of a lot more courage in the last 6 months than most people 2 or 3 times her age have in their entire lives. So, keep an eye on Kat. I have known her for the better part of a year. She is a better than a year now, year and a half. She's a remarkable young woman, and she is literally walking the walk and talking the talk. And now she is, they have come for her. And we will see where that goes, and we'll keep a post on that. But Evelyn, what do you think about this divide? Because I'm not sure that this is bridgeable.
What do you mean?
But if I was watching this goofball the other night, right? Who's like, we have to find a way to bridge the party of the Graham Plattner with the party of the Janet Mills. And that would be like bridging the party of Donald Trump and bridging the party of Jeb Bush. Like that will happen, but only when one of them has won, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it is kind of interesting because like Paul Ryan, right, embraced the Tea Party. But then he like left as like the enemy. So like in a way, these things can get very mixed up where like someone will come in and they'll embrace their demands. And then it's like the demands switch or they weren't good enough. And to me, that's the problem with like having faith in candidates. I think there are some candidates who inspire a movement. AOC was kind of like that. But a lot of them just get absorbed into the system and don't really change anything. So I think like an effective, I mean, this is like the interesting part about Trump and the MAGA movement is that it was like the Tea Party was part of it, but it took like a figure like Trump to really like dig in and I think bring people into politics that very marginalized before.
Right. I mean, Tyler, so to that point, Trump was the definition for, call it the vast right-wing conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, of luck when preparation meets opportunity. I just printed out the Powell memo, written in 1972 by a guy named Lewis Powell, a longtime corporate attorney, ended up being a Supreme Court justice. But like we are on page like 35 of his plan, right? Like they did it. Now here's the difference. It took them 50 years, but they had a very clear plan. And that's one thing going back to this deciding to win thing. And Tyler, you were talking about this right before we started, is where are the tactics? Where's the strategy? Like, how are you going to go do these things? How are you going to recruit the candidates? This was a blueprint, and they have worked off these blueprints. It could be the Powell memo. It could be Young Americans for Freedom. It could be when Jerry Falwell and the religious right decided to take on abortion. Well, several years after Roe v. Wade, when even the Southern Baptist Conference was in agreement with that decision, right? They decided, no, we want power. right? And I think that's the one fundamental thing that's still eluding so many people. Like this, there is an ideology attached, but the ideology ultimately results in how do we get to be in charge for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. So what are, I mean, I haven't asked you this in a little bit, Reed. We've been having this discussion back and forth. So while it's in my head, what do you think we need to do? What's not happening that you think needs to happen? I'm happy to put you, since I'm putting you on the spot, I'm happy to answer
No,
that question.
not at all. I mean, it's a much longer discussion, but the first thing is, you know, use whatever bad trope you want to. If you're in a deep hole, stop digging, right? If your boat is sinking, start bailing, whatever it is. But for this time, for the opponents, the opposition, for those people who do not like what's happening and would like a different direction, the first and foremost is like, be honest about how we got here, and be honest about the fact that we all have culpability for it. Any of us who've been doing this for a long time, who have been inside the system in one way or another, who helped propagate it, we all have responsibility. That could be ours, that could be D's, that could be, you know, corporate members, whoever it was. We're all responsible for how we got here.
And that's part of the problem, right? That we've talked time and time again is that I always refer to Richard Clark, his moment, right? In that post 9/11, what was it? Some committee hearing where he said, "Your government failed you," and that was one of the few times I saw a public official speak unequivocally about what happened.
That's what Trump did.
And responsibility.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a powerful moment. And anyway, but yeah, that hasn't happened with this party.
Well,
I have not heard that. Anyway,
Evelyn.
I was just watching. I'm doing a thing about NAFTA, and I was watching the debate between Hillary and Trump. And Trump goes, "Your husband signed NAFTA, and it was one of the worst things that ever happened to this country." And she looks at him and goes, "Well, that's your opinion." And they move on, and it's like, right. And so, like, I am curious though what you guys think, like. Democrats. So I was a staffer on the Hill. Like I just was kind of observing. Like I went to a lot of the member meetings and stuff, kind of observing like how they think and how the staff think. And to me, like there's a kind of a tyranny of groupthink problem where you get in there and you just kind of stop thinking for yourself. Like it just becomes you become like play acting this role of a staffer, and everybody just kind of does that. And it's like you don't even think about it. But I wonder how many of them are thinking like this, right? That's what's really hard to tell. It's like, are the people in the Democratic Party so are they like engaging with these ideas and this like introspection, or are they so connected? Most of them aren't, but they're so connected to this like kind of, I just need to keep doing what we've been doing. I mentioned this to you guys the other night. It's like the thing that they want more than anything in the world is it to be like 1997, right? Like if we could just govern like that. It's and they're like trying the weird ways they try to embrace like new media that doesn't work. Gavin Newsom, I don't know if you guys saw this, was just on that podcast, all the smoke. It's like two former NBA guys, and Gavin Newsom, his dad, was like buddies with the Getty Oil tycoon.
I think his dad was counsel to the company.
Yes, so he's like super rich. Like his dad was friends with the governor. He's like this super like nepo guy, and he's talking to these guys like he was like trying to make it out of the streets. He's like puts on this whole persona, and you're like, wow, like you're gonna do this and stay in the corporate thing and see if you can trick people. Like really?
Well, I know the people that run his campaigns. They're also the same people that ran Harris's campaign back in 2019.
Yes, exactly.
They don't do anything but run campaigns in California, in a state where Democrats are going to win overwhelmingly almost all the time. Right. So
and they're not going to tell their boss, "Oh, you're doing terrible. Like you know nobody likes you," because if that doesn't bankroll their checks.
No, look, you're going to get 15%.
It's like a toxic cycle.
You're going to get 15% on a presidential campaign, Evelyn. You're not making any waves with El Jefe, right?
Like Uber's calling. Great, let's see what they want.
But let me say, you know, one thing you said about the groupthink, and I've thought about this, and I've written a little bit about it, is like I was lucky enough to work at the White House in my 20s. When you work at the White House, right, like there is no, like you are not given whether or not you're the bottom of the barrel like I was, or probably somebody who could walk into the Oval Office. Like, you don't get extra points for being honest when, like, the emperor doesn't have any clothes, right? Like,
you get fired.
You get fired, or you get relegated, or you get shipped off to an agency, never to be seen again, or whatever it is, right? And for those people at the very top, and you could go back to this Roosevelt report about the Biden administration, right? Like, why didn't anybody tell Joe Biden he had to quit? Because everybody wants to be able to walk into the Oval Office without permission, right? Yeah. Nobody wants that taken away from them. Why does, I mean, Trump has an open door policy in the Oval Office, but like, it doesn't last long if you tell him what he doesn't want to hear, and no presidents are immune from that. Right. And so that's part of it too, is like, I call it the political bureaucracy, right? You move on the hill, you move off the hill, you move into the administration, you move out of the administration, you move up a little bit every time. When you're not in office, you're at a think tank or a, frickin' association or trade group or whatever it is. You're making good money. You're not working very hard, right? You go to parties, you get invited to this stuff twice a year. You take your people up to the hill, right? You got buddies who work up there because you've been going together since you worked on some shitty campaign in Kentucky or something, right? And it's just the revolving door. And like a guy that was one of my best friends is now a senior guy at Trump's National Security Council. Like, if you had told me 25 years ago when we first met that he'd be working for this guy, I would never have believed you. But here we are, right?
It's careerism. It's the disease of careerism. Yeah.
Right. But again, but this is the difference. If you want to be a careerist at GE, good on you, right? Great. Good for you, right? If you're going to be hello, cat.
Sorry.
What's your cat's name?
Phoebe.
Hello, Phoebe.
She's very irritating.
But if you're going to be a careerist in Washington, D.C., it's very, very easy to forget why you're there. In fact, that happens almost immediately, right?
So
I actually wrote an essay, not to plug it, but I wrote an essay today about this. Anyway, go ahead.
You should plug it. No, I'll plug it for you.
Thank you.
It's a great essay. You wrote about this. Yeah, it was excellent. Wrote it this morning. You're gonna do a piece, and I'm gonna say it's crap. It'll happen at some point.
Right. Well, look,
every single piece that you put out, I've said is great. There will be one. I promise you, I'll give you at least, if you write something crap, every single piece you put out, I'm like, that's amazing. Anyway, moving on.
So I've got about 10 minutes left here, guys, before I've got to hop. And so, this goes back to the bottom line of all of this. And why does any of this matter? Is if you believe that the country as it is working, right, then you put out a memo like decide to win, or if it works for your people, right? The problem is that most of the political system, as we just talked about, like Washington, D.C. is a microcosm of everything else in politics and government. If it's working for your people and for your benefactors, how much time are you really going to spend other than sort of a wink and a nod? Like, I got to put this in here, but don't worry, I really still love you, right? How much of it are you really going to be honest about them with? And here's the thing is, like, who are they trying to fool? Like, the American people all know this is screwed up, right? Like, they're the ones on the receiving end of all this. Like, first, thankfully, no actual normal human is ever going to have to read that thing, right? Because it's not particularly interesting to begin with. Like, there's not even prose, right? To your point, Tyler, it's literally like constructed in ChatGPT. It's not even interesting. Right. They might as well have just bullet pointed it and made it like 6 pages and saved us all a lot of trouble. But that's the thing is, it's just, again, it's this self-deception or willful ignorance, maybe is the better way to put it, which is, this is what we're going to say because we think this is what we have to say to keep the dollars flowing, to keep these people, and frankly, not even to win or to push back on what we're seeing with Donald Trump and his administration and all of the things that either are already happening or are likely to happen soon. It's just, how do we maintain our position such that when the time comes, fingers crossed, we're there to have the gavel, to have our name over the door. And that is not going to work anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. So I kind of let you off the hook there, Reed, going back to what do you think needs to be done? Let me start. I mean, you mentioned the...
Reed and I just complain, and Tyler's what could be better?
All right, there's lots of problems, Reed, but I want to talk about when I worked at the White House. Right, yeah,
So you mentioned, let me kick off. You
Yeah, we're
mentioned
just
the PAL
angry at
memo.
these.
Go ahead.
So the PAL memo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody doesn't know about it, who's listening, check out David Sirota and Company's new book, The Master Plan.
Yes,
A
in
new book
fact, I am
based on
about to finish it.
Yes.
I am interviewing David on Friday, so that podcast will be up probably Saturday or Monday. But excellent book. I'm
Yeah.
almost done with it.
So that goes
Yeah.
into a lot of the detail. There's been this apocryphal notion that the Lewis Powell memo actually wasn't that important. I got a lot of that when I was learning about it early on, and David, I think, puts that myth to bed
Mm-hmm.
and showing the impact that it actually had. It was quite significant, and we're still feeling it 50 years later, or however many years. So anyway, I've been thinking a lot about, right, we give all these examples, the contract with America, the PAL memo, the Norquist Pledge. What if we were to work, I've been referring to it as a toward union memo, the plan for how we actually get shit done collectively, how we move media policy money people into united front, recruiting candidates, linking projects, building institutions, so that you can build something that can actually compete against what is out there right now. We're not even close to competing, as far as I'm concerned, right now, relative to what the other side has. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure there are people who are trying to work on some version of that. I haven't seen anything yet. I mean, do you guys think that could be something like that could be meaningful? I'm just trying
100%.
to. Okay.
100%. Yeah, no, I think it's necessary because again, it's even with this memo that we started discussing at the top, like there's no way to I mean, semaphores like this is a highly detailed action plan. I'm like, it is not. It is not at anything of the sort. It does not have any action whatsoever. I mean, for example, Tyler, you asked like what could be done. For me, if I had it my way, if somebody said you get to go see Ken Martin at the Democratic National Committee tomorrow, what would you say to him? I'd say, Ken, you are not going to do anything but register voters. That's all you're going to do. That's all you're going to spend your money on. That's all you're going to tell your staff to do. That's all you're going to tell the state parties to do is register voters, right? The voter registration for the Democratic Party has fallen off a cliff. It's
But
not
who wants
just
to register?
but that's the point is like you have to start somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you're right. Like, and this is the hard part of Tyler's question. Like, where do you start? Well, I don't know. Like, which part of the broken engine needs to go first, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
especially when
know.
the
You
car,
know?
the car. Nobody is a shitload of people in this country, as you guys know, in the states that you need to win, the majority of them have no interest in the car. They have zero interest in buying this car. They're done with the car. Fuck the car. The Democratic Party.
For good reason too, right?
It's a Yugo.
The brand is so under the water. Yeah.
That's a joke too old. You're not old enough for Evelyn, but the Yugo was the state car of Yugoslavia when I think at the end of the Tito reign, and it was a whole thing. But it was a POS, right? It was a crappy car built in Yugoslavia, but it was Saturday Night Live did a whole send up on it. It was a whole thing. But the point was like nobody really wanted to drive a Yugo, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Ford Fiesta. Like you drive a Ford Fiesta because that's what you can afford. Right. That's what you need to go from A to B, not because you're like, oh, a Ford Fiesta is the best car that's ever been driven, that's ever been put together. And so to your point, like Evelyn, you make a good point. Like who wants to register? Well, I don't know, but like, let's start somewhere. Again, but that may be the answer to your question, Evelyn, and maybe the answer to your question, Tyler, is it has to be, remember, Tyler, you probably remember this. Evelyn, you've probably read about it. Like, remember all of the stuff with Bill Clinton and the Sister Soldier moment, right? He told the truth in a moment and he was given a lot of credit for it. I don't know that those moments really exist anymore. And if they do, I don't know if Clinton believed it at the time, right? But it worked for him. But I don't see anybody who has any authority who's willing to take that kind of leap. And so I think that it's going to have to be, to your point, some of this has to be a little bit of everything, right? Think about it like, throwing neutrons at a radioactive core, right? Like you got to have a whole bunch of, you're probably more nuclear savvy than I am, but whatever it is you do to get a chain reaction, right? But it's not just one neutron. You got to throw a whole bunch at them until you get a reaction. And so it's going to have to be the Graham Plattners and the Katz and the Mallory McMorrows and everybody who can actively push back, not because they're getting DSCC money, right? But because they're actually being honest, they're saying, yes, this is screwed up. They are recognizing, and I think this is a huge part of this. There is a recognition that this is not working, right?
Right.
And that will get you a long way. That will get you in the door. But if you're saying, no, 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 the system as it is fine. We just got to tweak it here and there, right? We just got to put a new set of shocks on the Yugo, right? Like
The
people are
report
like,
was
no.
so maddening. It
Huh?
was so hollow. It was a maddening report to read because it was so hollow, cynical, a lack of why, a lack of a worldview, calculated. It was just it was right out of like 1994, 1995, Bill Clinton era that is already kowtowed to the neoliberal order.
It's like we're gonna go
Anyway,
after.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say that there's a line in it. It's like, we're going to go after the corporate donor class and the far left.
Sure.
The enemies. It's like,
Right.
Yeah. They don't see
Right.
the connection, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Because I know that I've been to plenty of places in New York City with the donor class who are also the people who are espousing the very same cultural things that this report is calling out. Right.
Mm.
Like that's where that
But
is
it-
emanating
yeah.
from. Like that's not emanating from some guy living in West Des Moines, Iowa.
Exactly.
Right.
David Sirota made that point really well. It was like the identity thing was cooked up by the elites to divide people. It's not coming from like the people. Like your identity politics is a tool of like wokeism to keep people fighting each other.
Well, and
Anyway,
Gary,
Tyler, I'm sorry. I feel
no,
like
and the
No,
great, terrific historian Gary Gerstle in his book, The Rise and Fall of Neoliberalism.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him. Go back and go to the Homefront podcast feed to watch or read that. Said the exact same thing. Like they're like, oh, wait a second, we've got them shut up on economics. Now we can get them completely ignored. We get them to completely ignore it by keeping them angry about everything else, which is what, of course, everybody accuses the right of doing, which of course they are also doing. Right. And so, you don't have to fall for the bait. Just because you see a minefield doesn't mean you need to walk into it. Just because you see a bear trap doesn't mean you need to tap dance on it. You do. And this is the thing, Tyler, like we have agency, right?
Right.
Like,
Yes.
no, it's not that the voters are stupid, right? Like the voters know, like maybe not in the individual, every sort. Well, voters don't know about policy, blah, 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 blah. No, but they know whether or not their life is getting better or getting worse. Right.
Yeah.
And when you come up to them and try and gaslight them about the nature of their lives and their hardships, they're like, get out of here. Right.
Right.
And here's the thing. You don't have to like voters. Okay. They can be maddening. There's no question about it. But when you ignore them long enough, what happens? This today, October 29th, 2025 at 5:28 Mountain Time. This is what happens. Right. Like, I mean, that's the thing is, and I'll leave it with this is like, people, like so many people, oh, well, these voters, they vote against their own interests. Well, you voted against their interests for years until they decided to vote against their interests, right? Like that's why they did this, because they're like, well, if you're not going to care about me, I'll take the guy with the blowtorch, right? I'll take Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Like I'll take that because at least it's something.
I still have to see that movie. Or what was the new one that he's in?
One Battle at a Time. One Battle after another.
One battle.
I got to see that.
It's very good. I liked it. I mean, I like Leo. I like Paul Thomas Anderson. Benicio del Toro is friggin' brilliant.
It's amazing.
The young lady that plays Leo's daughter in the movie is brilliant. The woman that plays his love interest is brilliant. It's funny. If you haven't seen the movie, it will make a lot more sense. But that asshole in Chicago, who's like the ice chief of Chicago, is literally like, I think he watched that movie and then is portraying Sean Penn as Stephen J. Lockjaw. Like it's the same guy. He's this little guy in a tight t-shirt being completely ridiculous and over the top. I mean, literally life is imitating art. All right.
Yeah.
I have to go. So Tyler, before we let you go, where can we find your work, and leave us with something? Give us something to chew on as we leave here.
Sure. So, well, I can say my favorite two words, fourth founding, that I'm working on this piece. I've been telling you guys I've been working on it for a long time. I won't go into the spiel, but so I'm working on that. I wrote a piece, 2 weeks ago, toward a Fourth American founding, laying out the scaffolding of what I'm working on with this long-term background initiative that I'm just calling On the Brink. I think about it like building a cinematic universe. On the Brink is just one of the studios of many studios that are going to be aiming to work within this universe called the Fourth Founding. So tyleremerson.com. Substack is On the Brink. I'm writing, American Popular Front, writing about these different domains: economic dignity, national development, democratic renewal, civic devotion, reconstructive missions within each. I've got a long piece out on national development, a lot about the work that Corbin did with some of his colleagues, Shoykot and Zach, on Mission for America, New Consensus. So yeah, up to a lot of different things over there.
All right, we call Tyler the thoughtful one. Evelyn, how about you?
Yeah, you could probably see my Substack linked on whatever this is. I write about stuff there. Yeah.
Right. And
Thanks
guys,
for tuning in.
And guys, this is what I say about Evelyn. Evelyn's the one who writes those sentences that just punch you in the gut. And that is something that like she does naturally that I have tried for 35 freaking years to figure out how to do. And she gets to do it all day, every day. And it makes me very, very angry. I'm just kidding, Evelyn. All right, gang.
That means a lot, Reed.
She doesn't use ChatGPT with how she writes.
Right. Yes, 100%. We are a ChatGPT free zone for writing in this space. I'm not saying I won't go and ask questions occasionally, but I'm certainly not going to write anything with it. All right. As always, gang, you can find me here at the Homefront. I hope you will subscribe to all of us. Also go over to the Homefront podcast. I've got a new interview up with Gina Hinojosa, Democratic state rep down in Texas, who just got in the race for governor against Greg Abbott. She did it the right way. She was living in a neighborhood. Her son's school was about to get shut down. She joined the school board, kept it open, decided to run for state rep. She's been there for about 10 years or so now, and now she is running for governor against a guy I have known and people I have known for many years who have absolutely gone to the dark side. So check that out. Evelyn, Tyler, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Reed. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody else. We'll see you soon.